With more on the markets and the health of the consumer, I want to bring in BlackRock, a global chief investment strategist, Russ Koesterich, joining us. Dagen McDowell also joining the conversation from New York. Russ, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining.
Well, thanks, Maria.
Let me ask you about this most recent rally in stocks and the commentary that we're hearing out of the retail sector this morning. What's your take on the backdrop today for investing?
Well, in terms of the rally, I think there are a couple things going on. We've seen some decent data in the U.S. over the last couple of weeks that has alleviated some of the more dire concerns about the state of the economy. At the same time, you've got expectations for more stimulus from the European Central Bank, from the Bank of China, potentially from the Bank of Japan as well. So that's given multiples and valuations a nice lift. Where there's a bit of a disconnect, I think you got to it a moment ago on the Walmart number, is that while the U.S. consumer's on solid ground, it's not clear that they can carry the rest of the world economy with them. And to me, that's one of the risks as we go into 2016.
So I assume you do not think that then that this changes the Paris attacks, the terrorism attack, changes the Federal Reserve's plan. Most people expect the Fed to raise interest rates next month.
I would agree with that. The tragedy in Paris, it just reminds us that unfortunately this ongoing fight with global terrorism is still with us. But from an economic perspective, what we've seen in the past is that economies are resilient. We believe that France will be relatively resilient. There may be some after effect, such as weakness in the euro. But in terms of changing the trajectory of the domestic economy, particularly here in the U.S., I don't think it will do that, and I think the Fed is still likely to go in December.
Dagen McDowell.
With Walmart stock, Maria, we've been talking about it losing a third of its value so far this year. There was so much bad news already reflected in the shares there. So when Walmart comes out and says, hey, traffic's up 1.7% in the most recent quarter, same-store sales still grew in the U.S., albeit only 1.5%. But that's the fifth straight quarter that sales have been up. It was enough good news, particularly if you look at the forecast. The forecast for earnings for the current quarter was better than expected, and Home Depot shares had been healthy as well. So it's not what would have sent the stock down. It would have had to have been a lot of bad news. I think that at least it gives people a little bit of relief, if you will. But look at Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's Sporting Goods, the stock there down 15% thereabouts in pre-market trading because again sales could actually be down over the Christmas season.
Right.
Dagen, I think this illustrates an important point
Russ,
about the. I'm sorry, go ahead, Maria.
Go ahead. No, please go ahead. Continue.
I think this divergence between some of the retail stocks we were just speaking about is illustrative. On the one hand, anything that is rate sensitive, the auto market, the housing market, which obviously Home Depot is levered to, this part of the retail space has been doing well, where low rates support spending. Other parts of retail spending, apparel, they've been struggling. So you've seen this divergence. We saw it again in the last few days with department stores. Right. Anything that's not rate sensitive is not having as good of a year as people thought.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to make because the truth is consumer spending as it relates to retail, things like what you're talking department stores, is actually a small portion of overall consumer spending. Russ, real quick on global markets here. What are you telling clients? We've seen this rally in stocks. Do you want to buy into it?
I think you want to buy into it selectively. We still like international stocks. We still like stocks in Europe. We expect more QE out of the European Central Bank in December. I think the rally in Japan can go longer. One of the keys, though, for investors, think about having those positions while hedging the currency, because we do think that the dollar is going to continue to appreciate. You don't want to give back those stock market gains with losses on the FX side.
All right, we will leave it there. Russ Koesterich, good to have you on the program this morning. We will see you soon, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you. We will